And we're live, episode number 14 of WP Bosses. We're here today with Mr. Troy Dean, the, what was he called? The resident gum flapper.
Correct.
We'll fill you in later if you need to. And we've got our regular crew. Nick, who are you?
So I'm Nick, as you've said. I run an agency up in, well, it's not really an agency, it's me and two other people up in the Gold Coast, and we are front-end developers working on WordPress, mainly Genesis, Beaver Builder. Thanks, Troy, for that there, because you've got all those videos that came through. So I don't have to do all that work showing them, our clients, how to use it. But yeah, I live up in the Gold Coast hinterland, loving it, and have a distributor office, which means that I work from home or any cafe that's got coffee and Wi-Fi, which I needed this week because all my Optus servers went down. So I spent the week out in many different cafes up in Mount Tambourine. So, and my business is Positive Business Online. That's me.
Cool. Paul, who are you?
Hey guys, Paul Luxford here from Gold Coast Business Websites and WP Genie. I'm a front-end WordPress website developer. I've also got a couple of guys that work for me as well in the Philippines. All good. And I also do website care service. That's the WP Genie side. I live on the Gold Coast as well and have a family. 2 young boys and a wife, and I like to spend my time flying around in the air when I get a chance. So that's me. Thanks.
Perfect. Tracey, who are you?
I'm Tracey Kemp from Get Web Creative. I'm also on the Gold Coast, and I do, and I won't give you my life story, but that'll do.
Go on.
I want to hear your life story, Trace.
No one needs to hear it.
You've got 1 minute and 23 seconds.
We can put that in the bonus footage. Troy, who are you?
Who am I and what is art? I have no idea. Who am I today? I'm a home renovator today, wphome-renovations.com. I'm the co-founder of Video User Manuals plugin and WP Elevation. We're basically, and Rockstar Empires, we're basically in the online education space. So we educate small business owners, entrepreneurs, and predominantly WordPress freelancers and small agencies about doing business, and specifically doing business on the interwebs.
Yeah,
and
cool.
I'm based in Melbourne, Australia.
And I'm Robey Lawrence from Bearded Friend. That's my business name. Put a .com on the end, and that's me. And that's about it. Moving right along, Tracey, do you have any meetup news for us?
There are quite a few meetups coming up. Tomorrow night, Boomba meetup is happening. Not really any information there, but they're just doing a kind of a free-for-all Q&A, I think. Also tomorrow night, the Sunshine Coast meetup's happening. They're talking about security and SSL, the look of it. Thursday night, the Brisbane meetup is happening, and they're talking about page builders, cons, all that kind of stuff. And also on Thursday, the North Sydney meetup. No topic as yet. I'm sure they'll. Next Tuesday, the Adelaide meetup is happening. They are just doing a WordPress 101 session for people new to WordPress. And then the following night, the Wednesday night, the Melbourne crew are meeting up, and they're talking about how to kind of keep your older websites maintained, so you don't have to keep building new ones all the time. That's about it for the next 2 weeks. For more info, you can go to WP Bosses or search meetup.com.
Perfect. Paul, if I gave you 120 seconds, could you give us some website maintenance tips?
Absolutely, yes. Okay, I'm going to give you 3. So the first one is going to be 4.8 is going to be released. WordPress 4.8 is going to be released in a couple of days on the 8th. So make sure you back up your sites before you push that live. Obviously, if you've got automatic updates on, it will just automatically update. So that will happen. But yeah, just make sure you have your backups in place before that happens. Number 2. Regularly check your website for 404s. So if you obviously change a link structure or a permalink, down the line, then visitors are going to come to 404 pages, and that's not good. Google doesn't like them. So regularly check those. You can set up your site on Search Console, Google Search Console, and they will tell you if you've got 404s. Also, there's other tools like Screaming Frog as well that will help you. It's a desktop application. A third thing is test your navigation regularly as well. So there's little menus that you have on your site. Check them and go through each one and make sure that they actually do link to pages that you have on your site. I was on a site the other day, and it was another web development company, quite big here on the Gold Coast. And their homepage link didn't work. It went to their staging site. So bit embarrassing, but anyway, so that's my 3 tips for tonight. Thank you.
Was that Nik's website you were testing out, Paul?
Yeah.
I was just going to say thanks very much for actually saying that, Paul, because that was very generous of you.
Pleasure.
I'm glad you could make it to learn that, Nik. Same goes for you, actually. 120 seconds. I'm going to start the timer. Have you got some business tips?
You mean for me?
Yep.
Right, I'm going to talk about sort of how not to put homepage onto a staging server and leave it there. But apart from that, it's been an interesting week actually. And I guess the most interesting part of it is hosting 200 plus odd sites on a dedicated server, and having an SSD drive fail so that all sites go down at once, and having to swap that out with a new SSD and rebuilding the entire drive in the space of 3 hours. So I guess the business tip is, and out of that experience, is that we've got probably about 5% of our clients rely 100% on their website for their marketing. So when the site goes down, then there's their marketing gone down for, well, in this case, 3 hours. For other people, I've heard these horror stories of sites being down for 3 weeks for something like this happening with some shared hosting companies. So it really just comes down to, when you're managing something that's as important as this, what's your redundancy strategy? So, if your site goes down and this is your major marketing tool, what's your redundancy strategy to make sure that you're up and running again quickly, or you've got alternative strategies to ensure that your cash flow keeps coming through, your leads keep coming through, and that it doesn't cripple or terminate your business in a fatal way. So with the failure, we did actually restore everything, but we had 2 sites there, which interesting would be 2 of our most important sites, most of our active sites, who ended up with sites restored back to July 2016. So searching through the backups on the web server, they weren't there. So in terms of redundancy, it's like they've got sites that are now a year old, and some of these actually need to have current information on the sites, and they were just losing business over, in this case, 2 days before we got it restored back up again. The redundancy was that we use Infinite WP to store backups every day. We store database backups every day, and we store full website backups weekly. So we're able to go back through those backups till we found a point that was prior to this server issue, restore it, and business is back up and running, and clients are happy. So if you rely on backups from your web host, even if you run the web host, that's foolhardy. You need to have at least 3 backup sources so that if one fails, you've got at least 2 other redundancies there that will get you back up and running. So fairly boring area, but I can tell you that a business that relies on their website, this ain't boring. When it goes down, it creates a lot of drama. So yeah, so just make sure that you've got good redundancy in your systems to make sure you're back up and running quickly in the event of failure. It's not it will happen. You just need to make sure you're prepared.
And for the same reason, that's why I always recommend to host your emails separately, because imagine a business going without email for 3 weeks. You'd get a few angry phone calls then.
I'd be the happiest 3 weeks of my life if I can get
my domain expired for about 3 hours the other day, and I wasn't too concerned until I realized it was affecting all my emails as well. So I thought, oh, better do something about that. Now it's on auto renew, needless to say. I have a plugin of the month from an Australian developer, and it's video user manuals.
Hey!
I heard that mentioned a couple of minutes ago. I'm going to attempt to give a rundown of what it does.
Well, this will be interesting.
All you have to do is install Video User Manuals plugin on your WordPress website, and it adds a menu item that you click on, and it gives you a whole dashboard of videos to help your users navigate WordPress. They're all narrated in several accents, I believe, as well, so you can feel right at home. And they're always updated whenever WordPress updates its user interface, or it adds new icons, or all those videos are updated as well. So if you value your sanity and your time, and you would like your users to be able to build their website and maintain it and everything else on their own, it's really a no-brainer. There's a cool little calculator on the website of Video User Manuals, which tells you how much money you're going to save. It's pretty cool. Oh, and it works for a couple of third-party plugins as well, like Gravity Forms, Beaver Builder, Yoast SEO, and Google Analytics, I believe. Perfect. How'd I do?
And WooCommerce.
WooCommerce, yes. Sorry.
You did pretty well, actually. Yep, that's pretty much sums it
Can
up.
I say that with that calculator, I've calculated that I'm a millionaire now because I've used that plugin for over 5 years, only the early ones. And in fact, I don't even know why I'm sitting here talking to you guys. I should be on the Pacific Island somewhere with my laptop and doing nothing.
Unreal.
Thanks, Troy.
No worries, mate. Pleasure. I'll just dig into your account and actually put your price up.
Yeah.
Well, your shirt says it all, Nick. You'd rather be cruising.
Exactly.
One bit of WordPress news. WordCamp Brisbane is coming up on the 22nd to 23rd of July. Check out, just do a Google search for WordCamp Brisbane, and you'll find all you need to know. $50 for a weekend conference, and you get a free t-shirt. Let's get into the chat with Troy. I'm going to go first. You work in so your three main businesses: Video User Manuals, we've covered that, WP Elevation, and Rockstar Empires. Can you give us your WP Elevation pitch for WP Elevation?
Yep. WP Elevation is the world's largest business community for WordPress consultants. We're very specific about that. So we help WordPress consultants build and run a sustainable and profitable business through online training, a very active Facebook community support group, live events, and blueprints and processes and templates that our customers and students can install in their business to improve their productivity and their workflow and improve their profitability and hopefully reduce their stress.
Cool. And you've also got a few coaches as well. You've got Kath in Australia, Christina in the US, and Mike in the UK to help you with WP Elevation.
Yep.
My first question is, do you have any plans to expand into other countries in the near future?
Well, it depends on how you define near, Robey. We do have plans to expand, and you know, my sort of vision and dream for WP Elevation, and remember, so you know, just to give you some kind of context, video user manuals was doing really well around about, you know, late 2012. We had about 9,500 people on our email list and about 900 active subscribers to the plugin. And so we started sending emails to the people who weren't subscribers to the plugin and saying, hey, at some point you signed up for an ebook and you haven't bought our plugin, which is totally cool, but we're just curious, like, where are you at? Like, why didn't you buy the plugin? And the overwhelming response, 451 emails into my inbox, actually, the overwhelming response was, we need more clients and we need to grow our business so we can get to a point where we can start paying for developer licenses for like Gravity Forms and video user manuals and premium versions of Yoast and all that kind of stuff. Can you help us get more clients? So we built WP Elevation as a direct result to answer questions that I was answering over and over again on email, and it just got to a point where I couldn't answer those questions anymore on email. I couldn't scale, I couldn't leverage. It was like, I have to do something here. And so we built WP Elevation. And so over the last, and I'm really conscious of the fact that over the last 4 years that we've been going now, it's you know, and I say this humbly, and I don't mean to sound arrogant when I say this, but it's a bit of a Troy Dean fan club. Like, people buy into the fact that Troy Dean can help them with their business. And we need to move, and we have been trying over the last 18 months to move away from that and to move towards being an educational brand so that people recognize WP Elevation as where you go as a WordPress consultant if you want to learn business skills. So I'm looking forward to the day where, and you know, over the next 6 months, really, our mission is to reposition myself as just one of the coaching team. And we've just brought on Zach Gordon recently, who's teaching our development track. And the plan is to, you know, completely reposition the brand as a coaching faculty where I'm just one of the coaches. So yes, and we also have 6 mentors around the world. We have 6 mentors who are kind of light touch. They sort of help direct traffic in the Facebook group, and they help answer questions for newbies coming into the program and help them sort of navigate their way through the program. 2 of those mentors are in Australia, 2 in the US and 2 in the UK, or 2 in Europe. So we are definitely looking at expanding and bringing on more coaches. And, you know, I look forward to the day where I don't recognize the training anymore because it's delivered by other people. That's definitely something I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, that'd be exciting.
So, Troy, what did you do before you got into all this WordPress entrepreneurship? Where were you?
Well, I started off in sales, like when so I dropped out of university, and actually, let's go back. When I was 3, no, I'm kidding. I dropped out of university, and when I was a kid, I wanted to be an actor, and so I went to school, went to university, started, you know, to study to become a drama teacher. Realized that I didn't want to be a drama teacher. Dropped out of university because it was a horrible course that I was doing. It was just completely pointless. I couldn't see the point of it. And I was playing in bands at the time. I moved to Melbourne from Adelaide to pursue my creative endeavors in bands. And then I was kind of doing sales jobs. And, you know, and then I kind of had a bit of a meltdown in my mid-20s and walked out of my life, left my job, left my girlfriend, left the band, kind of quit everything, and spent a few years sort of piecing myself back together. And then sort of fell into voiceovers and just playing gigs around town, just playing covers gigs at, you know, bars and pubs around town, and doing voiceovers for television and radio commercials, which was really lucrative for about a 3-year period. I was doing really well as a voiceover artist, but I knew that it wasn't sustainable, and you were kind of at the mercy of other people. So you can't create your own work as a voiceover artist. You can do a certain amount, but if there's no work, there's no work. It's really difficult. And this whole online thing was happening. So all the money in voiceovers is in television campaigns, right? You can make really good money voicing commercials for television campaigns. But to give you an idea, the advertising spend on one of the major networks here in Melbourne dropped by 50% in 1 year. Their advertising revenue dropped by 50% in 1 year. And that's because everyone was moving their advertising online. And so the major television networks were just slashing their advertising rates to try and keep, try and keep their revenue coming in. So that affected us as voiceover artists. It affected actors. It affected crew. A lot of my friends here in Melbourne are in the post-production and the advertising industry. Everyone was kind of moving online, and I saw the signs, and it's a good song from the 90s, if those of you who remember. I saw the signs and thought I need to get my head around the internet. And so I started building websites to promote myself as a voice artist and a musician. And then some friends in the film industry said, "Hey, can you build me a website?" And then, one thing led to another. And here I am on the WP Bosses podcast. Who would have thought,
That is it.
All the way to the top.
Yeah, I've made it now, man. They say in America, if you're an actor and you get invited onto Sesame Street, they say you've made it. And what you don't know is that in the WordPress space, if you get invited onto the WP Bosses podcast, people say it's kind of like being invited on a Sesame Street, man. You've made it.
That's the whole point of the show.
Yeah. So who's the Cookie Monster?
Yeah. Who's Oscar? I'll be Oscar the Grouch, all right?
No, I've already taken that one. My kids have told me.
I used to play Big Bird at SeaWorld Resort at SeaWorld.
Really?
So, yeah.
I hope no one under the age of 7 is watching this, man. Otherwise, you've just smashed this.
I hit my head as I was coming out as well from the stage right, so it was quite funny. Yeah.
Now, I suppose I'm interested because, I've been told one of your oldest customers,
True story.
not by age, but by longevity of using your products.
Yeah.
I've been really interested in your journey because there are some similarities with my life, which is probably why we've connected. Sometimes well, and I've seen you as a web developer. I've seen you as a mentor, as a teacher, and then sort of evolved, into someone who's a course guru and and how to develop courses, teaching people. But I think probably the most pivotal thing that I've noticed with you is that you're a digital marketer. And I saw you on Ryan Dice's stage down in Sydney, and it sort of clicked to me that actually, sort of all of those things, you seem to be a digital marketer. Is that how you describe yourself, or how would you describe yourself in terms of your career, I guess?
The word marketer, I got a love-hate relationship with the word marketer purely because it's misunderstood. Marketing is so misunderstood by people. A lot of people think marketing is, kind of a bit slimy and, lots of snake oil salesmen and kind of this whole, bait and switch thing. And I get it. I understand why people feel that way about marketing and marketers. Digital, definitely. I love the internet. The internet, really came along at a point in my life where I was kind of wandering around the planet, not really sure what to do. And I discovered the internet. And I think like a lot of us, we found these connections. We found these tribes that we could belong to. And, I kind of define my life as pre-internet and post-internet. I remember life before the internet. I'm that old. And, so the internet, I'm a fan of the internet. I love the internet. And I love digital. I definitely love digital. It allows you leverage. It gives you reach. It allows you to scale. It's an amazing thing. Marketer, I think of myself more as an educator and a leader. And I say that humbly. I don't say that with any kind of arrogance, but I do enjoy leading a tribe. I do enjoy leading our team here. I enjoy leading the community in WP Elevation. So I think of myself more as a communicator and an educator and a leader rather than a marketer. But the truth is that I'm responsible for growth in our business. I'm responsible for getting customers, and that's something that I don't take lightly. And I also feel very empowered by the skills that I have, because I'll give you an example. At the moment, I'm trying to renovate my house. I'm trying to launch an intake of WP Elevation. My wife is about 5 weeks away from having our first child. Today, I spent all day driving around town trying to find a bloody spout for our bath, right, that we're renovating in the bathroom. I'm not actually doing the work, but the guy that's doing the work needs a little bit of help. So I'm driving around all day today, and I don't say this to show off or anything, but every day, all the time, I'm sort of in and out of the office over the last couple of weeks while I've been managing this renovation. I'm seeing these notifications come through on Stripe from people joining WP Elevation and this money coming into the business. And for me, it's an incredibly empowering thing because I know that I have the ability and I have the skills to make it rain, to find customers, to bring revenue into the business. So that for me is an incredibly comforting thing that I've figured that out. I know how to do that because I kind of feel like now I've got my hands firmly on the wheel of the bus that is my life, and I'm driving and I'm in control and I'm in charge. And, you know, that's something that once you learn how to do that, once you figure that out, once you get a message that matches your market, once you find a tribe of people that you resonate with and that you can connect with, and that you are being your authentic, congruent self, no one can take that away from you. And, you know, so I don't know if that answers your question at all, Nick, but that's kind of how I approach it. You know?
It does in the sense that, I mean, I'm interested in the fact that, you know, so many people get stuck in the data of doing illustrations of the business and actually just doing the stuff there. And what I see with you is that you've pulled yourself out of the business and you've become the personality, you know, for better, for worse, but, you know, like that's what's really grown your business is your personality. And the fact that you are charismatic and people like you and they're attracted to you, and but you've actually got some deep innate skills there that are transferable. And you've been in the WordPress space, you've done the hard graft in there, and you've got some stuff there really to impart to people, but you do it very well. But what I do notice about you is that you're not necessarily in there doing the stuff, but you're a good communicator that, and that's the sort of thing that really, I suppose, grows the business, is that communication thing. So for someone that's, you know, that's in their business doing all the dirty work and, you know, looking to get ahead and get themselves out, I mean, how did you do it?
Yeah, and thanks, mate. I really appreciate you saying what you said, because a lot of people, you know, don't realise. I mean, you know, I've been trying to hack something together since about 2007 now. So I've been doing this for 10 years, and WP Elevation's been going for about just over 4 years, and we've really kind of hit our stride now. And we've got a really successful business. We've got a good team. We've got an operations manager. We've got coaches. We've got Gin. We've got developers and designers, and we've come a long way. So I appreciate the kudos. Basically, you know, you do your best work when you're in your sweet spot, right? Now, I've burnt out a couple of times. I've burnt out a handful of times. And when I say burnt out, it means I'll get home and I'll go to bed and I'll text Gin or I'll email Gin and I'll say, cancel tomorrow. I don't give a shit what's on. I don't care if Matt Mullerweg wants to get me on a fucking podcast. I can't do anything tomorrow. I'm done. I need to sleep. I need to lie on the couch all day and watch reruns of Law and Order SVU, because, you know, I'm toast. And that's happened, you know, probably 4 or 5 times over the last 3 or 4 years. And when that happens, it's a big wake-up call for me. And the thing that scares me about that is not really my health, because I know that I'll bounce back. I need a couple of days to recover and I'll be fine. But what scares me about it is the company's inability to service our customers if I go down in a screaming heap. That actually makes me feel like the business is risky and the whole value proposition is risky, and our customers are then at risk because I'm not here, we can't serve them. So that's usually when I say, right, we need to hire someone. And hiring someone is scary because it costs money and time to hire someone. But I'm of the opinion that if I can employ someone to do something after the initial onboarding process and the initial induction process, which might take 2 or 3 months, once they're in their sweet spot and once they're adding value to the business, I now have a lot of time and energy on my hands because I don't have to do that stuff anymore. And it's not a matter of me paying them less than I'm worth. It's a matter of me. So the problem that most people have is they say, well, if I'm going to pay someone $50 an hour to do a job, then that's okay because I charge $100 an hour. That's the wrong way to think about it. If you pay someone $50 an hour to do a job, you've just got an hour of your life back. Your job is to add as much value to the business in that hour so that you can support you and them and the next hire and the next hire, and you can continue to grow the business. So I don't think there's anything wrong with being in the trenches doing the do if that's your sweet spot. Like if you're an amazing developer and you just love coding websites and you're really good at it and it nurtures you and you love it, then do it. That's what you should do. and surround yourself with other people who are really good at what they do. You can't do everything in the business. That's the problem that most freelancers, I think, have as they try and grow, as they try and do everything. And, you know, I had this conversation recently with someone who said, oh, man, it's just getting really competitive. There's so many people out there doing it. And the other thing is I've got a lot of work on, so, you know, it's okay, but I'm kind of drowning. So I said, oh, well, you need to hire someone to help you. Oh, yeah, but, you know, no one does it the way I do it. I'm like, dude, you've just said it's really competitive, but no one can do it the way you do it. You see the contradiction there, right? Go and find your nearest competitor and partner up with them. Or find, you know, someone who you can mold into doing the way that you want to do it. Like, don't think that you're the only one that can do it. Really? What are the odds of that? What are the odds that you're the only one that can build a Genesis Beaver Builder website perfectly? What are the chances? If that was true, the guys at Beaver Builder would go out of business real fast, right? So
stop. You're in my head. We can't have this conversation.
You know what I mean? You gotta let go, and you've got to let other people make mistakes, and then and coach them through it. And the way, you know, the way to do it is to lead the way by basically, you know, removing the obstacles so that they can flourish and that they can be in their sweet spot. And once you get your head around it, it's a huge mindset shift. But once you get your head around it, it's extremely liberating.
And that's a difficult thing too, because like I know exactly what you're talking about because I experienced that and have experienced it. But when you do pass stuff over and it works well, it's just absolutely fantastic. But it's that transition between, look, I know it all, and no one can do it as good as I can, and sort of handing it over and investing that time in someone and trusting them to actually do things. It's that in-between spot that's the difficult thing, because I've found that actually when you do hand it over, like I've found someone who's better than I am and does stuff and that is way better than I do it, and I think, oh, geez, I'm a shit developer, aren't I? But there's something in that in-between space that's where the blockage is, and you're sort of got to get through it or over it or under it to actually do that. But if you don't grow, do you? You
know, and the thing is, right, this word hustle gets thrown around a lot in the online space, right? And people think, we had this conversation the other day, I had this conversation the other day with Ray. People think that hustle is that you have to work until 1 a.m. every morning and then get up at 6 a.m. and keep working and, you know, have no life and just work till your eyes bleed, you know. That's not hustle. That's being unproductive. It's damaging your mental health. It's no good for your social life. Hustle is finding a way around an obstacle and never saying no, never quitting. It doesn't mean working 16 hours a day, right? If you're working 16 hours a day, you've got a problem. There's a problem in your business. You're not productive and there's a problem in your business. You've either got too much work or you're just really shit at what you do, right? So hustle is finding a way around an obstacle. And when you hire, if you're a developer and you hire another developer to start working with you and they screw the first project up, welcome to hustle. You've got a couple of options. You can fire them and start again. You can work with them and skill them up. Whatever you have to do to solve the problem, that's your job as a business owner. Now, if you don't want to do that and you just want to cut code, sweet. Then you're just a developer and you need to find other people who can win clients and make it rain and serve them. Because the fundamental difference between being a freelancer and being a business owner is, as a business owner, you have the responsibility to make it rain. You have to bring in revenue. If you don't want to do that, or you can't do it, or you're not interested in it, that's totally fine. Just be honest with yourself and say, I don't want to do that. I just want to serve other agencies and let them worry about the clients. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that at all.
Mate, stop inspiring me.
I can't help it, man.
Yeah.
So, Troy, you started off with video user manuals. You got that to a point. Then you recognised another opportunity. You started WP Elevation, and that's grown so much over the last 4 years, and it's nothing like it was when you first started it, although it still has the same kind of essence to it. And then you've moved on to, well, not moved on to, but at the same time done your Rockstar empires. So what's the biggest challenge in trying to do so many projects in succession and simultaneously? And how do you retain your sanity?
Well, I have an amazing wife who you know, Tracey, you've met, and she's a psychologist, so that helps. And she talks me back from the ledge, you know, several times a week. She's great at counselling me through my difficult times, and you know, and I would like to think that I support her through her challenging times as well. So having a really good foundation and a great partner is paramount. I also have an amazing business partner in WP Elevation, who again you guys know, Brian. You know, so with video user manuals, for example, he was like, we need to get you out of this business. And so now what happens with video user manuals is, you know, so 4.8 is coming out. Pat, who works for us in the Philippines, did a complete audit of what's required to update video user manuals for 4.8. And then what happens is that goes into Asana. I get a task telling me to voice this new video with a script. So I go down into our recording studio, I voice the video, I fire it back. That goes off to our English and American voiceover artists. They record their stuff. And then Pat builds all the new videos, updates all the screen flows. It all gets uploaded to the cloud, and then that gets delivered to our customers dynamically from Amazon. So all I do is turn up and talk into the microphone, right? Now, because systematically, Brian has taken me out of that business one step at a time, and then he's taken himself out of the business, and we've employed people to do those roles, right? So WP Elevation, similarly, I'm trying to not replace myself, but I'm trying to de-risk the business, make it more of a value proposition, because as much as it pains me to admit this publicly, I know that not everyone resonates with me, and that some people just don't like me at all, and that they would like to hear this information from an American female, for example, or, you know, a British male. So, you know, so it's been really interesting to see these kind of cohorts in the community flock to Kath and flock to Mike and flock to Christina. And there are people in the community that, I mean, over 800 people in our program now, and there are people in the community that I've never spoken to and I've never had an email from and I've never conversed with, but they love hanging out with Christina or Kath or Mike. So again, just taking myself out of those roles one at a time. And Rockstar Empires grew organically because people were asking us, how do you create courses and sell courses online? And so again, we were just answering those questions, and we decided to turn those repetitive answers into a course. We launched Rockstar Empires. I split video user manuals requires almost zero of my time these days. WP Elevation, when we're not in launch mode, which we are at the moment, but when we're not in launch mode, requires maybe a day a week of my time just to kind of answer questions, oversee things, give advice to Ray and Jen and the coaches. And then Christina and I really focused on trying to build Rockstar Empires and scale that up, because it's something that we're really passionate about. And the value proposition there really is to help small business owners better use the internet to grow their business. And what we're trying to do is get, you know, a lot of people say web developers aren't good with clients, but there might be some truth in that. But I can also tell you clients are bloody horrible with web developers, right? They don't know what they don't know, and they're too proud or arrogant or stupid to admit it. So what we're trying to do is get web developers and clients to have a better quality conversation to get better outcomes. You know, the whole value proposition with Rockstar Empires is we want to remove poor performing websites from the internet, one domain name at a time. So it's a pretty, you know, ambitious goal. But we feel like we've got the web developers on this side of the conversation all ready to go, take a good brief, manage projects, stay profitable so you can stay in business and keep servicing your clients. Now we want to educate the small business owner about actually what's involved, and that this is a collaborative process, and that, you know, you can't just abdicate responsibility by blaming the web developer. And there's a whole conversation we want to have over there. So I exercise and I play music. That's how I keep my sanity, to answer that question.
You've learned not to run to the same time.
Yes, don't run 2 launches at the same time. I tried that 3 times and I learned.
3 times?
Yeah, 3 times. Yeah.
Well, that's pretty much answered my next question, which was going to be, when you've had enough internets for the day, what do you do to disconnect? So you play guitar, you renovate the bathroom.
Yeah. I exercise, man, and I read books, and, you know, I debrief by talking to my wife and playing music. I play gigs occasionally. I try and play 2 or 3 gigs a month, just to, you know, just because I love music. It's kind of, you know, it's like fuel for my soul. It's like oxygen for me, you know. yeah, and I have to exercise at least a couple of times a week. I have to do some really high intense sort of cardio. Otherwise I go a bit burko, you know. I get really cranky if I don't exercise. It just kind of builds up. So yeah.
So what do? You go to the gym, or you just do the 12 minutes?
No, I go to the gym. I've got a personal trainer. I see twice a week, and we do a bit of boxing. We, you know, he kind of, you know, he kicks the shit out of me a couple of times a week. So, which is good. You know, a lot of cardio, weights, core, some caveman stuff like swinging sandbags around your head. You know, throwing medicine balls across the room. He ties me up with kind of, what are they called? Those big stretchy elastic kind of bands. He puts them around me and ties me up like I'm on a dog lead and makes me get on all fours and climb to the one end of the gym while he's holding me back and putting pressure on me. So, you know, he's a bit of a sadist, and you know, it's good.
Is this your personal trainer or your wife?
Yeah, my personal trainer. He's got a fetish. Yeah. But, you know, I think the other thing is I'm really lucky that, you know, I just love what I do so much that I find it, you know, I never, like, this isn't work. This is not a chore. This is never, you know, I mean, sometimes it's stressful, but, you know, it could be a lot worse. I love what I do. I love the fact that, you know, and if I'm ever really feeling like, what is the point and what am I doing with my life? I just log into our Facebook group and tell them how much I love them, and like watch, you know, the comments and the loves and the shares just go through the roof, and I just got this massive dopamine hit, and it's like, there we go. That's why I do what I do, you know, because we've got this amazing community. And
well, that's better than my Facebook page where I just have to post a snake and wrangling a snake there, and I get lots of likes and things like that. There, mate, you've actually got real stuff. Hey, so which sort of things? I mean, I suppose I'm curious as to what drives you. I mean, you seem like you're really happy. You're contented, but you're not sitting back, you know, on your laurels at all. You're still working hard. But I mean, what actually drives you? Is it fame, fortune, adoration of screaming fans, or not relying on the government for your pension when you get there?
Yeah, look, it's a really good question. I don't give a shit about fame. You know, like, I'm really comfortable being in the spotlight, but I don't give a shit about fame. I don't care about having raving fans or doing any of that kind of shit. It just doesn't interest me at all. But I'm really comfortable running live events. I'm really comfortable being on stage. I'm really comfortable podcasting, doing Facebook live streams. I'm really comfortable in that space. You know, and I've done a lot of soul searching over the years, Nick. And I'm not, you know, I blogged about this recently. I made a video about this recently. I've had a lot of anxiety and depression over the years, and I've spent enough time on the couch and done a lot of work on myself in therapy to really figure out what it is that makes me happy. And I'm really grateful for the opportunities that I've had, and I'm really grateful for what the internet has allowed me to build. And I'll tell you what drives me is I hate seeing people miserable in their job. And I just, because I was that right through, I was in my mid-20s, I was a miserable salesperson, a miserable sales rep. And it was fear that held me back. It was fear that made me stay in a job for too long and end up being really, really miserable. And it just doesn't have to be that way. Like, I just think now is such a great time to really have you know, and I was talking to someone recently about, you know, people say, oh, what about job security? You know, if you've got a job and you think you've got job security, I mean, it's just an illusion, man. It's the biggest load of smoke and mirrors I've ever seen. Why would you put your financial future in someone else's hands and hope they don't screw it up? And I just think
if it worked for me, that'd be a big mistake.
Right, exactly. I mean, I just think now is the best time to do your own thing and to really live your passion and to you know, find your calling. I think there's never been a better time. And you know, I don't know, man. I just get a huge amount of joy and pleasure out of, you know, when I was in Miami recently, Robert Simmons and his wife Alyssa were there, and they come up to me at our mastermind. I spent 3 days hanging out with them in Miami, and Robert was saying, dude, I'm so grateful for what you guys have done. I've quit my job. I'm working from home full-time in the business with my wife. You know, I mean, Amber and Chris Hines from Colorado, same story. I mean, literally, I could go on for days with these stories of people thanking us for what we've done because they are now working from home, doing what they love, when they want, working with clients, working on cool projects, playing with technology, earning a living, supporting their family, looking after their kids. you know, and that is like a drug for me. That is so much more rewarding than any amount of money in the bank or any kind of fame or fortune. And the other thing I've learned accidentally is that there is a direct correlation between how many people you help and how helpful you are and the money you have in your bank account. And there is a direct correlation. And so when I had this mindset shift 4 years ago, when I rang Brian and said, I don't know how we're going to make money out of this, but I'm going to spend the next 2 years. This was in 2013. I said, I'm going to spend the next 2 years becoming the most helpful person on the planet to help WordPress consultants grow their business. And I don't know how we're going to make money out of it. That was the start of 2013. And that was my mindset shift, because I'd spent so long trying to make money and I'd failed, and the common denominator was me. So I shifted my mindset, and I read Think and Grow Rich a couple of times, and it really just floored me, you know, and I started applying that stuff one day at a time, and I just refused to quit. And, you know, that's what gets me out of bed every morning, man. I mean, we've got over 800 people in this community now who depend on us to help them in their business. And that's what gets me out of bed every day.
So I mean, that comment there is an interesting comment, because you've got two ends of the spectrum there. You've got, what do you call it, energy vampires and time suckers. So they're people there who, mate, they want you to help them. They're on the phone every day. They're in your emails, and mate, you cannot do enough to satisfy them there, and they'll take all your time. And then you've got the model that you've got as well, where people pay you $1,000, a couple $1,000 to actually help them with their business, gladly pay. But from what I see is that they're a different sort of person to those energy time suckers.
I'll tell you what it comes down to, mate. And I've learned this the hard way, right? When and again, you know, I don't mean to sound arrogant, and I say this humbly. When I fly to the other side of the planet and I get off a plane in Los Angeles and I'm jet lagged and I spend a couple of days there, and then I go out to my favorite little bar in West Hollywood, Mixology 101, and I have a bunch of elevators and alumni who have been through our program turn up for a little meetup, and they're genuinely kind of a little bit, you know, in awe when they meet me, because they know me from the podcast, and they know me from the videos, and they know me from video user manuals, and they know me from the program. The reason that they have that experience is because of the value that we've added to their business and their lives before we even do business, through the free stuff that we give away and the podcast, right? So the difference between a time sucker, an energy vampire, and a raving fan is how much value you've added to them before you're doing business with them. So here, if I was going to go out now, knowing what I know now, and hindsight's 20/20 vision, if I was going to start a web development agency now, right, here's what I'd do. I wouldn't sell websites. I would start an online course or an online community or an online portal, and I would teach my face off about digital marketing, and I would never ask for anything in return. I would have a free Facebook group where I would teach my face off. And then at some point I would have a inner circle Facebook group that would have like a price ticket on it. And as part of that membership, you would get a website, and you would get email marketing, and you would get social, and you would get whatever else you needed to succeed in your business. And it would be productized and processed in a way that our team could deliver it repeatably and predictably and scalably. But I would add so much value to that community by teaching my face off before I asked them to do business, that they would just believe everything we said, and they would buy into our business model because the trust is there. So the problem that most of us have got now, and the problem I had when I started out, is, hello, I don't know you, and you need a website, and I want to charge you $5,000, and you don't know me from a bar of soap, right? That's like trying to get laid before you've bought the girl a drink. Do you know what I mean? And I don't mean to be crass, but that's what it is. Like, I don't know you from a bar of soap, and you want me to give you $5,000 to build me a website. There's a disconnect there. How much value can I add before, and then you come to me and say, I want you to build the website because you're clearly the expert?
That's quite a different way to how most web developers operate.
I know it is. And here's another crazy idea. If you want to get different results from everyone else, then you have to do something different to what everyone else is doing.
No.
It's called a unique value proposition, you know? And we got plenty of members in WP Elevation who have done this kind of subscription model. That I mean, because if you think about it, with the technology that's available to us now and a team that you can train, if it's a straight up website, I'm not talking about e-commerce or anything really complex with API, third-party integration, that kind of stuff. But if it's a marketing website, really, if it's a marketing website, can that thing be productized and processed, and can a team be trained to deliver it? Yes, of course they can. James Schramko's done this really well with Superfast Business. He teaches you how to use the internet to scale your results in your business. And on the back end of that, he's got a team in the Philippines who can build a website for you. They're Genesis child themes. And it's like a $1,200 website. But that's not what you're paying for. You're paying for James's insight, and you're paying for his strategy and his ideas and his experience, because the website is just a part of the solution. It's not the solution.
Yeah, absolutely right. Because I know that, so when we deliver websites, the biggest mistake that we ever make is hand over a website to a client and walk away, because they don't know what to do with it. They it's like, well, what's next? This is just the start of the journey. There's a whole lot of stuff that happens once you've got your website. There's a whole lot of stuff that happens, and like, I know that now I find myself delivering a whole lot of strategies and how-tos and what you need to do next. And this vehicle that you've got here, that's what it is. It's a vehicle, but if you don't put fuel in it, if you don't actively do anything with it, it's going to do nothing for you. And the most common thing we get is someone says, well, we're not on Google yet. No, that's because there's some things that you actually need to do now to get you here. You paid your $6,000 to get you to this point. You now need to invest, and keep investing to get to all the other points here. This just really gets you started.
Yeah. And so we're constantly going through this education process, because clients don't know what they don't know, right? And when we say, look, it's going to cost you $5,000 or $6,000 for a website, and then you're going to have to invest all this, they think we're just taking them for a ride. Now, if they come to us and they already see us as the expert because we've overwhelmed them with value, i.e., a podcast, content, training videos, running live events, running free seminars on a Tuesday night at the local restaurant or the local chamber of commerce, whatever it is, if we've added enough value and blown them away with value, they come to us and they ask us for our opinion. I mean, when was the last time you questioned your kidney specialist about a procedure? Well, never.
What are you talking about?
Right, exactly. Right. So and the other challenge that we've got in the WordPress space is, WordPress is just a freaking tool, right? It's an amazing tool, but it's just a tool. The reason we use WordPress and not Squarespace is because it's easier to customize because of the plugins, right? I don't care what anybody says. If you take the plugins away from WordPress, a lot of people wouldn't be using WordPress. WordPress is so popular because the plugins make it extensible. It's easier to use than Squarespace because of the plugins, right? It's easier to use than Weebly and Wix because of the plugins, because we've got more control over it. It's more of a learning curve, right? Which is why 97% of WordPress installations get aborted in the first 7 days, because the learning curve is pretty big. We on this call and a bunch of other people have figured out how to use WordPress to build business websites. So we are specialists. Remember, we are in the top 0.1% of the population of the people on the planet who actually know how to download WordPress, install it, set up some themes, plugins, put some content in there, plug it into MailChimp and get it up and running and get it into Google, right? We are specialists. We don't value ourselves as specialists because it's open source free software and the plugins are so bloody cheap, right? That's just a manufacturing business model that we have been really clever at working out. It's called leverage. Make the plugin once, sell it to 1,000 customers and only charge $24 a month for it. Right? It works on our end because the cost of duplication is zero because it's digital, and it works for our customers because the price point is so low. That doesn't mean that we have to charge $500 for a website. And it doesn't mean that when someone comes along to us and says, I've only got $500 for a website, that we're obliged to help them, because we're not obliged to help them. It's our business. We get to choose who we do business with. And the other thing we're up against is when you go to somewhere like ClickFunnels, and their value proposition is abandon your website and save your business. You no longer need a website. What you need is ClickFunnels. And you realize in their Facebook group, they have over 65,000 members who are all active customers. There's 65,000 customers who are probably not using WordPress. Now, why do they believe Russell Brunson, and why do they buy ClickFunnels as a solution? Go and check out Russell Brunson's content. Go to one of his live events. Read his book. It's actually really freaking good, right? He did. He ran webinars every single week for a year before he launched a free video series to launch ClickFunnels. He understands his customer better than anyone. He's done the work. He hasn't taken a shortcut. That's what we're up against. So if, this is probably for the benefit of anyone watching this or listening, but if you're not getting the results that you want as a WordPress developer, then try stop selling WordPress websites and try start selling solutions of which WordPress is just a part of that solution.
Oh, there's that pregnant pause. Who's next there? Paul.
No, definitely expanding your thinking, trying to pull yourself back from your little, I don't know, your cogs. Stop just repeating what you're doing every day and actually step back and think about it from a what's the word? From outside your box.
View, yeah.
Yeah.
And
that's exactly what I was trying to say.
And the other thing is, I've had this conversation a lot with developers, right, who love developing. And they're like, I just want to develop websites. I'm like, okay, well then your customer is agencies right? or designers. So your job really then is to help them sell more websites, right? If you can help an agency, as a developer, if you can help an agency or a designer upsell a website or increase the value of a website or sell another website because you've given them some insight or you've worked with them to collaborate on some tools or a process that's going to actually help them make more money, well, guess what? They're not going to go to any other developer because they see you as the linchpin that's helping them grow their business.
Which is sort of a bit of a secret about sort of web or WordPress developers who are looking for more business. If they can sell, there's a heap of developers out there that have got no clues about selling at all because they're really good at what they do in the development space.
And I keep saying the internet has just made it so easy. It's really simple until we complicate it, right? Believe it or not, I don't enjoy sales because it makes me feel a bit desperate, a bit needy. It's like speed dating, right? But I love closing deals. And 99% of the time, I will close a deal when someone has approached me and they need a couple of questions answered before they buy. I haven't found them, they've found me because of the helpful content that we've produced. So if you're a developer and you want more clients, like my friend Bill Ballou said, a 64-year-old man who was on my podcast, lives in Silicon Valley. He's the most energized 64-year-old dude I know. And he now consults with like eBay and PayPal on content strategy. And he said, content won't solve every problem in your business, but you can solve a lot of problems in your business by hitting the publish button. Publish what you know, be really helpful, and people will find you because all of the computers in the world are connected.
And there's a whole lot of information and experience that you have that others don't have. And they've got the questions, but you've been in it long enough to actually discover some things, make some mistakes, and have some answers.
100%. And doesn't matter what business you're in the business of marketing. And marketing is really easy these days because all you have to do is be helpful. That's all you have to do. Especially on the internet, right? Everyone expects robots on the internet. So we had a guy yesterday email me and say, hey, Troy, I know you probably don't read these emails, but I'm really ready to join WP Elevation. I've just got a question about additional staff members joining. Can you please get in touch? And his phone number was on the bottom of his email. So I rang him on Skype. He's in America. I called him on Skype. I've got an international Skype telephone number. I called him on Skype. He answered his phone. He said, hello, Richard speaking. I said, hey, Richard, it's Troy from WP Elevation in Melbourne. And the guy was like, really? Is that really you? And I'm like, yeah, it's me. It's me. I got your email, and I'm here to answer any question you've got. Like, people expect robots on the internet. They don't expect a human being to call them. So just be helpful, and be prepared to do what no one else is prepared to do. And you don't have to be a salesperson. You don't have to be good at marketing.
Well, often it's just about conversations, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right, I've got a question. You've got a new baby coming on board.
I have.
Give us 3 adjectives to describe how you're feeling about that right now.
Excited, definitely excited. I'm going to say exhilarated, like in the same way that you feel when you're about to get on a really massive theme park ride, right? Like, so I'm definitely excited, but there's also a part of me that is just like, and but more than anything, I'm just curious. I'm really curious to see. I'm curious to see what I'm going to learn about myself over the next couple of years.
Just
yeah, that's fair.
Buckle up, get in there. There's going to be lots of learning, isn't there, Paul?
You will learn a lot. Yes, it's the best thing.
Yeah,
The best thing that will happen to you.
yeah,
And it's the worst thing too.
Yeah, you do find things inside yourself that you didn't ever think that you had in there, like frustration and anxiety and the stuff that, like, you know, you never thought beforehand, like, you know, you've got to look after this little new person. Like, you're responsible for that life, you know, and you've got to bring that person into the world and teach it everything, and him or her everything that they need to know for life. I mean, that's a huge, it's a huge thing.
But you know, the biggest thing, you can never yell. You're not allowed to yell. No matter what, you're not allowed to yell, because you're a bad parent if you do that.
Oh my God. I've broken that rule many times. I'm a very bad person. I'm a very bad parent. Wow.
Sorry, I can't give you any advice, but I was legitimately curious.
yeah.
Is there a secret there, Robey, that you're not telling us?
No.
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to it, and we're already planning WP Elevation onesies apparently. Christine is sorting that out.
We're doing virtual nappy changes.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe you could make a course about that as you go.
Yeah. I'll live stream it.
Yeah, no. Actually, one of the things I'm curious about too is, now that we're off the baby topic, that was a real quick sort of thing, because I've got teenagers now and I'm real quick to get off it. I mean, you hang out with legends. So, you know, you hang out with legends of the internet world. Like, and for me, when I think about legends, mate, I'm 50 something now. I've lost count of all, you know, that. But and when I had my mortgage broking business, mate, I used to hang out with legends as well too. But you know, you've got Dave Jennings, you've got all those people down in Melbourne there who are internet marketers to the extreme, that have really come through the hard times, and have, mate, overnight they've just become a success. A bit like you, really. How much does it, you know, just hanging out with those people, does it keep you accountable, keep you on task, and really sort of keep you, I suppose, doing the right things as opposed to heading down the wrong track?
Yeah, look, I mean, we've got a pretty good crew here. Nathan Chan from Founder Magazine, Dave Jennings, Mike Rhodes from Web Savvy. He's one of the authors of the AdWords for Dummies book, along with Perry Marshall. Ed Dale's a good buddy of mine. I can reach out to him and ask him questions whenever I want. And it is good. Dave Jennings and I are really close. We talk to each other all the time about what the next step is, and we keep each other accountable, and we help with strategy and sort of bouncing ideas around. So it is good from that point of view, because you do get inspired. And a lot of those guys actually work in this building here, so we kind of hang out at the water cooler and while we're getting coffee, and you do kind of hear what each other is up to. But I also actively look outside. I look at a friend of mine, Mike McHenry, who's an accountant, who's got an audit auditing business where he audits self-managed super funds for other accounting firms. He's a really successful business guy. He's built and sold several businesses, and I look to him. He's not an internet business at all. I look to him for ideas around culture and team and leadership, because the internet, you know, it can become a little bit of a bubble, and so, you know, as much as having my sort of colleagues in the online space is really good because we do compare notes with each other, I think it's also important to look to other industries at what other people are doing offline and try and model. And I'm just really interested in being surrounded by people who are more successful than I am, because, you know, they say that you are the sum total of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. And, you know, if you're the smartest dude in the room, then you're probably in the wrong room. So I just try to surround myself with people who are, you know, more successful or smarter than I am, or are doing things that frighten the shit out of me, just to try and keep myself growing and evolving. So, I mean, it definitely does help. But also we've been, you know, they're just dudes, you know, like they're just, the thing is, right? Like I look at Ryan Dice, when I first met Ryan Dice, when I first met Frank Kern, when I first met Ed Dale, I was like in awe. And you realize the reason that they've just hit the publish button a lot more. You know, that's the only difference. The only difference between, you know, any of us here and Gary Vaynerchuk is he hits the publish button. Probably a little too much, but he hits the publish button, you know.
And I have heard that it's like, if you want to be the expert, you read at least one thing in your field every week. It's only once a week, and then you go and teach it. And if you do that there, you're quickly the expert.
Correct. And, you know, no one, I learned this from a guy named Brendan Bouchard, who was the first kind of big course that I bought online. He really drummed this home. He really rammed this message home to all of us, actually. No one is going to tap you on the shoulder and say, hey, it's your turn. No one. In fact, you know, the biggest challenge we've all got is attention. So you can make as much freaking noise as you like. If people start sending you hate mail because they think you're an idiot, then you're doing something right. At least you're cutting through the noise. I get hate mail all the time. Particularly, particularly in launch week, you know, when we send a lot of emails, I get hate mail all the time. I go, well, at least you're opening the email. You know, my standard response is, thank you for taking some time out of your precious day to hurl abuse at me. I got your attention. You know.
So it's the whole thing there that any publicity is good publicity.
Well, I mean, I don't fully subscribe to that, but we had a guy come through the other day, you know, kind of hurled abuse via email and our support chat widget on the website. And I'm like, dude, you're on my website, right? Like if it's that offensive, change the channel. Go visit another website. You're on my website. Like, and you're hurling abuse at me. You can leave anytime. It's really easy to click the mouse button and leave my website. I'm not on your website. You're on my website. You know what I mean? It's like when a client calls you up and says, I need some help with my website, and then they start to micromanage you and they start to screw you down on price. And you're like, you called me. I didn't call you. You called me.
Yep.
Go do it yourself.
Yep. So really making those waves is I suppose in a perverse sort of way, that's a sign of actually you're doing the right thing. Well, because you're either on one side of the fence or the other side of the fence. If you polarize people, then you've actually got a tribe of followers on one side of the fence.
Correct.
And the other side of the fence, you've got all the haters where you're never going to do business with them anyway, are you?
Correct. That's exactly right. And I'm really fortunate now that we've got such an active community that when someone in the Advanced WordPress group on Facebook starts to flame me and WP Elevation, that I don't even have to do anything. Because I'm not a member of that group, members come and tell me, oh, you should see what's going on over here. And 18 of our students have gone in there and actually defended me. And I'm like, wow, check that out. I don't even have to do anything anymore, you know? So, and that's just taken time and, you know, a lot of blood, sweat and tears to build that kind of trust up in that community. And, you know, Seth Godin says this all the time as well, like people want leaders. Everybody wants a leader because everybody wants to know that they can follow someone who knows where they're going, because it's easier than walking down dark alleyways yourself. If I can follow you, well, if you're going to get hit by someone, at least you're going to take the brunt of it and then protect me because you're in front of me. Everybody wants a leader.
Yeah.
Very few people are prepared to step into that space and actually walk down the dark alleyway and say, hey, I don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm going to walk down the dark alleyway. And if anyone jumps out and attacks us, I'll take the brunt. And if I get knocked down, don't worry, stay here. I'll get up and we'll move on. It's okay. I'll figure it out. I'm not perfect, but I'll figure it out. Very few people are prepared to do that, which is why I think there's such a great opportunity to step into that leadership role, because most people won't, because it's scary, but it's also really exhilarating and very rewarding.
So here's an interesting paradox with all that, is that, you know, you step into that leadership role, but then at some point too, there's also that that guilt there that there's things you're not doing right. You've got weaknesses there that you know are weaknesses, and you're exposing yourself to those weaknesses, and people can see, well, you perceive people see those weaknesses.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, for some people, that's what really sort of stops them and blocks them from moving ahead.
Uh-huh.
So,
yeah.
but that doesn't seem like the case with you.
Well, you know, Susan Jeffers wrote a fabulous book called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. I haven't actually read it, but I've heard it's very good. But, you know, what are you going to do? Like, not get out of bed in the morning because you might get hit by a bus? I mean, I spent a bit of time doing that. I spent a bit of time not being able to get out of bed in the morning because I was, you know, had depression and anxiety. And you know, I've kind of worked through that now where, you know, one of my really good mates, he refers to it as the full catastrophe of life. Life is a catastrophe. Life is multicolored, it's multidimensional, it's ups and downs. And I've been through enough internal kind of soul searching to realize that if I really want to experience the full radiant color of life, then I have to be prepared to experience the pit of darkness as well. Because if I'm not prepared, if I want to stand on stage or be on a, you know, at a mastermind event or look around the room at a WordCamp Atlanta when I was keynoting a few months ago, and just look around the room and go, I'm just high right now because, you know, I don't know how many people were there, 500 people in the room, whatever, have turned up to see me deliver a keynote, and this is awesome and it's amazing. If I want to experience that, I have to be prepared to look at the camera and say to people, I made a mistake, I screwed it up, but guess what? I've learned something and I want to share with you what I've learned. And if I'm not prepared to do that, then I can't expect to be able to, you know, receive the feeling of you know, the success. So, you know, for me, I just think if you're transparent and you're authentic and you're just yourself and you're just completely authentic about, look, I'll be the first to admit I'm not a very good developer. I'm a terrible freaking designer, but I have certain skills that I've managed to use to build a very good business as a WordPress consultant, and I now have those skills to be able to teach others. I'm not perfect. I don't have all the answers, as much as it pains me to admit publicly, right? But I'm prepared to say when I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm prepared to put my hand up and ask for help. It's also the most empowering thing you can do, is to actually ask people for help, because it lifts this weight off your shoulders. I don't have to have all the answers, you know? So one of the first things I did when I started WP Elevation was enlisted other people in the WordPress space to come in and run webinars to teach things. I got Chris Lemmer to come in and talk about pricing, because frankly, it's a mystery. It still is to everyone. But Chris seemed to have a framework that he could teach us. So I invited him to come in and teach a webinar because I wanted to learn. And I'm very transparent with my audience. I don't know this stuff, so I'm going to get other people to come in and teach, right? And they love that. They're like, it makes you human.
Which is, I mean, you've had some amazing people on your podcasts. This is like WordPress royalties. You know, it's like, how do you get them? You know, like who wants to speak to Troy Dean?
Well, you know, you just ask. Like, it took me a long time to get Seth Godin on the podcast. It took me a remarkably short amount of time to get Guy Kawasaki on the podcast. It took me it took me a long time. I still cannot get Matt Mullenweg on the podcast. I had him on WP Think Tank, which was a panel discussion we ran for about a year, and then I folded it because it was just taking up too much time and wasn't moving the needle. And I had the podcast. But, you know, Corey Miller and Lisa Sabin-Wilson and, you know, Chris Lemmer and 80 from Woo Themes and Yoast. I mean, they were Vlad from Managed WP. They were just no-brainers. They were like, of course I'll be on your podcast. No worries, you know, no problem. Now, what you got to remember is before I started the podcast, I'd flown to the other side of the planet and gone to Pressnomics and hung out with these people and learnt what to do at a networking event like that, which is ask lots of questions, give praise where it's due and authentic, and be genuinely interested in other people. Because so I came away from Pressnomics with a list of people who had said, yes, I'll be on your podcast, including Matt Medeiros, who was the only other guy really running a WordPress business podcast at that point in time. And I sat next to him at Pressnomics and we went, this is kind of weird. I'm going to start a podcast. He knew it. We were talking about it. I said, we should have little microphones here and kind of do like a live podcast. And he was like, who the hell are you, dude? Like, he was like scoping me out. Of course, now we're really good mates. So, you know, I mean, and I hear this all the time, and I used to feel this way as well. Oh, the WordPress rock stars and the WordPress royalty. They're just dudes and dudettes. They're just people. They have USB cameras and USB microphones, and they plug them in, and they share their opinions, and they publish it online, just like you guys. Like,
so they just hit that publish button.
No one is WordPress royalty. No one is a WordPress rock star, right? That is just, you know, it's just a mindset. It's like, I get it. Every industry has people that we look up to and that we look to for guidance and advice. But frankly, it's usually those people who, you know, in offline, it's people who speak at events, the people who speak at the conferences every year, the people who are interviewed in the magazines, the trade magazines that go out. Like my wife's a psychologist, and the APS put out a magazine every couple of months called Insight, and they run these big events. They basically don't have an online presence. You know, they're trying to figure it out, but all their kind of comms to their members is offline. And we know who the rock stars are in that industry. And my wife goes to these events and she's like, oh my God, I'm going to a Russ Harris training and I'm going to meet him after the, you know, and of course now she's had him on the podcast and, you know, now she can email him and she's like, oh, it's just Russ, you know. So it's just because Russ wrote a book and gets interviewed in the magazines and he speaks at conferences. He's just hitting the publish button, you know. And it's okay if you don't think you've got anything valuable to say. You'll never know unless you hit the publish button.
And look, you'll never know either. So whether people are for you or against you, unless you hit the publish button.
Correct. And the challenge is hitting the publish button and just keeping on doing it even when no one's listening. Like, I know there were episodes of the WP Elevation podcast in the early days where I was like, I know I've just got to keep doing this, but man, why? Why am I doing this?
Did you ever feel like giving up? Like, did it feel pointless?
Yes, absolutely. All the time. And my wife was the one that just, you know, kept, and now her podcast, you know, she's, I don't know, episode 45 or 46 or something, and she's starting to get interest from the States. She spoke at WordCamp Boston about starting a podcast on WordPress, you know. So I'm the one now that's motivating her to keep going. And we've now got 5 hosts of the WP Elevation podcast, because I said to everyone here, if we're going to keep the podcast going, I need some help. I can't do it on my own. I need some help. So we've got myself, the 3 coaches, and Jin, and we all kind of rotate and host different episodes, which I love. I love listening to the WP Elevation podcast again, because it's not just me, you know. It's a different perspective. Other people have other things valuable things to offer. So, but the point is,
which must be incredibly powerful and good for you to have other people there giving their opinions.
It's great. It's also weird when Coach Mike interviews your wife on the WP Elevation podcast, like he did last week, and I listened to it and I'm like, that's 2 worlds colliding right there. That's bizarre. But you know, the point is, if you don't hit the, like, you know, nothing changes if you don't change anything, right? And I hear this all the time, like, oh, you know, I've really got nothing to say and no one would listen to me. Well, here you go. If you've got nothing to say and no one would listen to you, then don't hit the publish button, because no one will listen to you if you don't hit the publish button, because they can't.
I think the whole Rockstar thing too comes from just television. Like, if you're used to seeing someone on the television, then it would mean they're a famous actor or they're a movie star. Yeah. Whereas now everyone's got access to the internet. So anyone can be in. You just have to be in people's face all the time. And then people kind of associate that as, oh, he must be, you know, an actor or a rock star or whatever. And that's, like you were saying, just a great way to build trust and credibility and just getting your help out there.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, you're what are you now, Troy? Mid-40s?
43.
43, early 40s.
Yeah.
So,
early.
Yeah. So given sort of like 20 years, what do you think your contribution is going to be?
Well, it's interesting. You know, I had this conversation all the time. If I won the lottery, I just like to entertain the idea. I never buy a lottery ticket, so it's not going to happen. But I like to entertain the idea that, you know, if I woke up, you know, and just didn't need to get out of bed financially, if I just had $10 million cash in the bank and just went, oh, well, I'm done, I don't need to do anything.
Yeah, you're obviously there now.
Yeah, not quite. I don't think it would be too long before I found myself back online building some kind of community, because, you know, it's an incredibly rewarding thing to do. And I mean, you know, if I constantly go back to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and I do this as a marketer, as a communicator all the time. I look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I say, well, look, frankly, most people that I'm talking to and most people that we know in our space, we've got the first Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you know, food and water, shelter and kind of personal safety. And then number 3 is a sense of belonging, connection, love. Number 4 is esteem, self-esteem and esteem of others. Number 5 is self-actualization. Very, very, very few people get to. You know, most people in the Western developed world, I think, kind of spend most of their time trying to get number 3. You know, we want to feel connected. We want to feel like we belong to a tribe. We want to feel loved. I mean, that's basically what it all comes down to, you know. We've got food sorted out. We've got shelter sorted out. The next thing is we just want to feel like we belong. And we're a pack animal. And, you know, I've engineered this lifestyle where I get to make money, which buys me food and puts a roof out over my head by belonging to a tribe. And for me, like, it's the perfect situation. I can't think of anything else I'd rather be doing. So when I'm 63, you know, I'll probably be running, you know, dadsintheir60s.com with teenagers, you know, and I'll have some kind of online community around that, you know, I don't know, but I think I'll be doing something similar to what I'm doing now.
Well, that's which is really interesting, because you say you're part of a tribe, but you've created the tribe, and I think that's really the gem. And you know, whether you're a web developer, whether you're a pest controller, whether you're a mortgage broker, whether, you know, whatever you're doing, it's actually just to create that tribe, isn't it?
100%, because everyone wants to belong to a tribe, and the internet, I actually think, is making us feel more and more disconnected. You know, we've got all these connections at our fingertips, but I actually think we're feeling more disconnected than anything. And I think people genuinely want to just feel like they belong to a tribe and that they've got, you know, they've got their crew that they can hang out with. And most people, I go back to it, most people won't step into that space and create the tribe because it's a bit of hard work and it's pretty scary. But that's why I think it's such a great opportunity to do it, because most people won't.
Well, it's probably more scary than it is hard work.
Yeah.
Because I think, you know, if you've got a good message, if you're authentic, then that's all you need to be. And that's not hard work.
This is the thing. Most people are scared of it because they're like, well, what if people find out I'm not very good at X, Y, Z? Well, that's okay. Just tell people straight away you're not very good at X, Y, Z, and then that's dealt with. You know, like the easiest way to, you know, the imposter syndrome, right? Everyone's kind of afraid at some point that someone's going to tap you on the shoulder and go, no. You don't get to have this much fun. You have to go start packing shelves at Woolies or something, right? The easiest way to remove imposter syndrome, which I don't really suffer it much these days, but when I first started out on this journey, I did a lot. Like, it was crippling. When my first trip to Pressnomics, I was like seriously, I'd go to a session and then I'd run back to my hotel room and have to have a lie down so I didn't have a panic attack. And I'm not exaggerating. And then I'd brave my way back into the conference, right? Well, the easiest way to get rid of imposter syndrome is just to own what you're not very good at and admit it. Huge weight lifted off your shoulder because I'm no longer pretending to be something I'm not. I'm now authentic. I'm living with, in congruency with my values, and I'm being myself, and I'm just going to publicly tell people I'm not very good at that, but I'll find someone to help me. That's the easiest.
And those experts actually don't care.
Yeah, that's right.
So those experts are just pretending to be experts and aren't actually experts and are suffering from imposter syndrome themselves.
Yeah, and there's a lot of that goes on as well. If you just realize that everyone has imposter syndrome, everyone experiences anxiety, everyone is everyone is quietly freaking out and just trying to keep a lid on it. If you just realize that, then it's okay. We're all, we're all here together. Let's just, be real with each other, Which
is why I resonated with your blog post the other day when you had your blog post on, depression, which was actually, it was very powerful because I have to say that I thought, that actually just sounds like business and life. It's like there's nothing special about it. It's like I have these sleepless nights and I have these sort of night sweats and all that sort of stuff, and I'm not good enough or whatever. I think, yeah, actually that's just life, isn't it? It's like and I have to say that I think, and look, I may be politically un-PC if I say this, that depression's not a thing that exists. It's a state of mind in the sense that, mate, shit happens. It's how we deal with it at the end of the day that defines who we are. And if we decide to be depressed about all this sort of stuff, then fuck, it's a clinical depression sort of thing. But if we say, well, and the thing that stood out for me was when you said, I experienced this, as opposed to I am this, or I'm a victim of this.
Yeah.
And I think, there's lots of stuff you experience.
Yeah. I used to say I suffer anxiety, and now I say I experience anxiety, because it is just for me, I got help. I got on some medication. I got help. I had a lot of counseling. I worked my way through it. I learned how to manage it. Now for me, it's part of experiencing the full catastrophe of life. So I don't want to trivialize it for anyone who might be experiencing it, because it is real and you need to get a handle on it. But for me, I'm fortunate now I'm in a place where I can say I don't suffer anxiety anymore. I experience it.
Yeah, that was probably, out of your blog post, that was the most powerful thing that I pulled out of that, is the fact that, because that there gives you the choice as opposed to having something imposed upon you.
Yeah, awesome. I'm glad. Thanks, man.
Mm. Well, I'm done.
Thanks so much for coming, Troy.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me, guys.
I think I've just got over my imposter syndrome.
Good.
But good. Yeah, it's been an hour and a half of an epic podcast episode. Awesome. So thank you very much.
Next time anyone's feeling intimidated by anyone or feeling like you've got imposter syndrome, just look at someone you really admire online. Maybe go and check them out on Twitter and look at someone you really admire and you think, wow, I wish I could have, what they've got. And just imagine them nude. Just, it's a level playing field.
If someone wants to find you online, where would be the best place?
Twitter @TroyDean. And if you're in the WordPress space, wpelevation.com. And if you're in the online, if you're a business owner wanting to get online, rockstarempires.com is the place to find us.
And WP Elevation is open at the moment for what, another less than a day?
Another 24 hours or so. Yep.
Yeah, cool.
So get on it.
Hey, dude, nice talking to you.
Thanks, gang. Keep hitting the publish button.
Thanks, Troy.
Bye.
Thanks, Troy.